Hey yo, we are back with a Mighty Multimedia Topics. So this is going to be a little unscripted. We'll see how it goes. I don't script a lot of my things, but I at least have notes. I don't really do notes here. I'm just going to kind of talk from the top of the brain here, but it's all stuff that I really know, really love, have thought about. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem, but the basis of this I thought would be fun is to go through, because for the Christmas, we're definitely past Christmas, but for Christmas I made a list. I gave it to them. I don't know if people really hate that. I know some people like it, some people don't, because people are hard to shop for. So I just make a list of a bunch of things that I want, and I let family and friends and stuff pick from that list and get other things as well. Obviously, like if there's something else that that you think I would like, I am totally for that. I'm not like a crazy strict stick to the list kind of thing or whatever. And I got a lot of gifts that weren't on my list. That great gifts. But I have this list, and it just kind of helps me also build my collection and everything. So I thought it'd be fun to go through the movies and shows and stuff that I received from Christmas. And these were all off of the list of the things that I wanted, that I got for my collection to add. I thought I would go through them, talk about them a little bit, talk about why I wanted them, why I want to add them to the collection, why I think they are good, I guess, in many ways. But just pretty free form. I thought this would be a really fun way of doing it, right? So I don't know if I can do this, but these are kind of all of the things that I want to do here. I'm just gonna go one by one. I did give it a little bit of thought, so a little bit of a purposeful order here, but not anything specifically. Again, just talking about it, right? So I have my stack here. We're just gonna go one by one. So the first one I have, these first two are from specifically this year. So the new movies that I thought were good enough and that I liked enough to add to my collection. So the first one is Oppenheimer. I reviewed Oppenheimer here, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail with Oppenheimer. But I mean, it's a fantastic movie. It has on here one of the best movies of the century. I don't know if that is exactly true, and we're only almost a quarter through the century, so that's a pretty bold thing to make. Not that these quotes really mean too much for anything, but it does reflect my views a little bit, and also you can see the views of other people, how good it was. I heard some mixed reviews on it, that it was just too long and boring, but I really like long, slow, intimate movies that really burn out. And not even slow. Sometimes a movie can just be really long because it just has a lot to say, and the story is just so vast to tell. There's a lot of good movies that are extremely long. Some of the ones that I'm thinking about now is just like the Snyder Cut was just extremely long, but I enjoyed a lot of it. The Lord of the Rings movies are incredibly long, but I enjoy a lot of it, and there's obviously some other ones. So just because a movie is long does not make it bad, although some people just can't hang, and they kind of misconstrue long with boring. And some long movies are boring. They can be boring, but I don't think that it's a closed casket there. It doesn't have to be. That's sort of a misnomer. But it can be difficult, because there have been a lot of movies that are really long and that are still really boring. Ten Commandments is another good one that's really long, but I really, really enjoy it. But coming from that, obviously, I guess I'll just give it a little tiny bit, right? It's the biopic of Robert Oppenheimer, the head of the Manhattan Project that made the nuclear bomb in World War II, blah, 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 blah. Again, see my review on this if you want more, but it's definitely worth it, because so much went into it. Cillian Murphy absolutely crushed the role. A lot of other great actors in it. I love World War II, so to kind of also round out my World War II collection, I have a thought about a video about like best World War II movies and kind of setting them in their time and place and all of this. Let me know if you think that would be interesting. I think that would be a really cool topics to talk about, kind of blending, history and entertainment that I really love, specifically World War II. Who doesn't love World War II, right? All the memes about all anyone talking about World War II, but it's just a really fascinating period of history, right? After that was kind of, what do they call it? Post-history, right? That's when the world got all boring and stuff. But another big reason is just because it's Christopher Nolan's recent big movie, right? I don't think I'm a Christopher Nolan completionist, but I'm absolutely a gigantic fan of Christopher Nolan. He has not missed on many of his movies. I think I've maybe not gone to the theaters, but watched pretty close every single movie that he's made in recent years. I think they've all been really good, really thoughtful, exploring different crazy ideas. This was definitely a little bit more subdued, right? A lot of his other ones have been more like exploring the time and space and all these like memory and crazy facets. And this is just delving into the life of a complicated man and the consequences, everything that went into a very complicated historical moment in his historical topic. Right. And I mean, again, not to be a completionist, but I have a lot of Christopher Nolan movies in this collection. And I think this is a good part to go into it. Right. I have all the Dark Knights. I have Tenet. I have Interstellar. What are some other Christopher Nolan movies that I have? Oh, Inception. I have that on there. So I have all those movies in there. So Oppenheimer will fit very nice in with the rest of the Christopher Nolan movies. The next one that I'm adding to my collection, and that is another one that came out this year, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So this is, I think, the only MCU project of this year that I am going to add to my collection. The other one, but it came out in 2022, I'm almost positive, was Spider-Man No Way Home. And to be honest, Spider-Man No Way Home wasn't a fantastic movie, but it had so much fan service that I did really enjoy it, and it had to be in my collection. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a fantastic movie in itself, so definitely different from No Way Home, I think. So, it's the end of the trilogy. James Gunn is leaving for this. He almost didn't get to make this movie, but when he got fired, but then he got brought back. In the meantime, he went over to DC, is now running DC. Incredibly excited about this, about that in the future. But in the meantime, James Gunn stuck around to put one more just jaw-dropping entry into the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, as well as the MCU as a whole. And this was really a highlight of the modern MCU, because the modern MCU has had a lot of flops, a lot of really bad swing and misses, and a lot of movies that are just bleeding money. I mean, you've seen Captain Marvel just absolutely just burning tons of money, but also some of the other movies that have recently been coming out. Just all of them are just not good. I just haven't really enjoyed them. They're just not the same level of cinema that it used to be. Superhero movies were never perfect, amazing movies, but there were some that were definitely gems, and other ones, even if they were just solid action movies that were tight and that were well acted, well written, well directed, well executed. And it's just not happening nowadays. It's just getting thrown together, seemingly, and coming out with terrible products. But to get into this a little bit more, I don't even know if I reviewed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I feel like I must have. So if it's there, see that for my more in detail thoughts. But, it's the culmination of these characters that we have followed for a very long time. Obviously, Guardians 1 and 2, but also through Infinity War and Endgame. They've been with us for a very long time, and the holiday special as well, which is actually pretty fun. But these characters have evolved so much. I love so many of these actors. It really collapsed and really finished the story in a super satisfying manner. I really wasn't expecting Rocket to kind of be a big focus of this movie, and just how hard it hits you with his backstory. They always talk about him, being a freak and being genetically engineered and all this, but they delved into this so much in this movie. And I mean, it broke your heart in so many ways, right? A lot of people figured out how to move on and live the lives that they were meant to live. And, these were all really troubled people that came together to do really fantastic things, but they were still troubled people, and they didn't figure out a lot of their problems. So in this, well, maybe not their problems weren't solved, they were at least addressed and kind of get to the core so that they could finish and that we could leave them and trust that they were going to go live their lives in great ways. Star-Lord, Chris Pratt will return, Peter Quill. That'll be interesting to see in what facet that happens. But seemingly, the rest of these guys are pretty done. Some of them are mad about the whole James Gunn, how this went. Other ones are just done with these movies. But, I mean, this was a highlight of the MCU. I have to complete my Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I used to actually get a lot of, like, the Marvel movies, no matter what it is. Like, you'll find Thor: The Dark World in this, which is a really bad movie. I was definitely a completionist. But when I had the, like 18, 20 movies or whatever, not too bad, of the Infinity Saga, that was pretty manageable. You could do that. But after that, I really stopped just getting Marvel movies just to get Marvel movies, because they're just not great. But this one is absolutely worth it, so it'll fit great in there. The next one that we have that is being added to my collection is definitely thrown back, definitely not from this year, is Casablanca. I should have checked, but I'm pretty sure I reviewed this one as well this year. But I really enjoy it. I mean, it's an absolute classic, but I hadn't seen it until this year. I watched it actually on a plane, on an international flight. I was lucky enough to make a trip over to Europe. Went to England and France, and on my trip over there, I believe, I watched this movie, Casablanca. So probably not the best environment to do so, but I still fell in love with this movie 100%. This is another movie that's actually set around World War II. I mean, this is going to be a theme, to be honest. I don't know. That wasn't purposeful. But it's set around World War II, very not involved with the actual fighting and everything, but just more a glimpse into what everyone was doing at that time. And also completely separate, right? It's just fantastic. I mean, just the acting of this is impeccable. This was, I think I talked about this for my review. It was just, they didn't have the technology back then to do all these fantastic things, so they just had to rely on their actors doing a good job and writing a good script that their actors could do a good job with, and that they could form a good movie around. And it absolutely paid off and absolutely worked in said movie here. They killed it. It is black and white, but it doesn't matter. You just get enmeshed into the story. There's the characters that are created are just fantastic. There's blends some real history going in. And again, it is a classic. There's probably a lot of people that have seen this movie in the past. I think this and Citizen Kane, which I haven't seen yet, which I really, really need to see and want to see, which will probably end up in the collection. Maybe it'll, if I do this video again next year, maybe it'll be talking about that. But it's on a lot of, top lists of movies of all time. And that's not to say that it has to be up there, because, people make mistakes. Some people are stupid. You can have the kind of mass brain fog or whatever, people just jumping on the bandwagon of movies that other people say are good. But this was not the case. This movie was fantastic. It had to be on there. Again, if I'm restarting a civilization with this, once the apocalypse happened, like I talked about in one of my episodes a little bit ago, this movie's got to be on there. It has got to explain it. People have got to see this movie and appreciate its just sheer majesty. So I'm glad to put this into the collection. Moving right along to yet another World War II movie. I promise, to be honest, I did not even realize this until just looking at these like 5 minutes ago. I know I love World War II, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. It does make sense, but it is still funny. But this movie that I am adding is The Imitation Game. Again, saw this movie this year. I reviewed this movie this year. So see that review for my more complete and in-depth thoughts. But this movie is relatively old, definitely like a decade or so. And I think it went relatively under the radar. I didn't know much about it. I haven't heard much about it. I just seen, read the synopsis, seen a trailer maybe at some point or something about it. Didn't know much of the history about this, to be quite honest. But just watching it on some random day, I fell in love with this movie. it is just so absolutely capturing and engulfing. The history behind it, the real life story of Alan Turing, but just a lot of great actors that go into this, a lot of great other performances. There are so many twists and turns and impossible hard decisions, complicated relationships, it's structures, dealing with hardships in military time or in wartime with the military and hierarchies, and love, and all of this just mesh into this beautiful movie, and just balances all of these crazy things so incredibly well. Benedict Cumberbatch and Keira Knightley, I really enjoy both of those actors. I don't think I have too many of Benedict Cumberbatch's movies. I don't have too many of Keira Knightley's movies either, but I at least have her in all of the Pirates of the Caribbean, so Benedict Cumberbatch needs some more representation in my collection, and now he's going to get it. I'm glad he is going to get it. Again, in that other World War II video that I'm planning, this will probably be in it in some fashion, so at least I'll have that prop in there for it. But it's just really well put together. It talks about an important time. Again, it has a lot of just difficult decisions and everything, so it's something that should absolutely be in here. It goes along with a lot of other war movies that I have in there. I have so many. I've definitely talked about some of them in some capacity or the other, but I really enjoyed it. It had to be in here. So, yeah, I mean, some of this is definitely repetitive. We'll see how this kind of plays out and looks in the aggregate. I'm just kind of blushing over some of these movies. So, I don't know if that is good or bad. We'll see how great of an actual video this makes. But this is another good one, and it'll fit well in my collection. The next entry we have, the next edition, is something that is a little weird edition. It's more of like a subsidy or replacement or whatever. So let me show you what it is first, I guess. So it is Batman the Animated Series, the complete thing, like the whole box set, right? So there's a bunch of discs, part 1 and 2. So there's 4 seasons, so it's probably season 1 and season 2, and then in part 2, season 3 and season 4. So I don't know if you can see it up there with the range of this camera here, but I have season 1 and I have season 2 separately on different discs, and I don't know how cost effective it was, but I think each of them was like $15-$20, and I think this was like $40 to $50. So I think it was worth getting it. It's a little slimmer. It's a little cool looking. I mean, I love this package here. We'll kind of pull this out because might as well, if I can get it out. And I can. I'm effective. I am successful. I mean, it's pretty. It's really pretty. It just has, all the discs and everything. I actually thought there was going to be more in this because these other ones have some more special features or whatever. But I'm still happy with it. I have the whole thing now in one great package. And I have where is it? Right here. That might be out of frame. But this is the complete thing of Justice League. So that is actually the 2 seasons of Justice League and then the 2 seasons of Justice League Unlimited, but it's from the same DCAU. This started the DCAU. With that being said, this is from 1992. It started in 1992, and I mean, it's just fantastic. Starting with the actors, Kevin Conroy is Batman, forever will be Batman, is the best Batman. His voice acting just made this series, made the other series, made everything he's ever been in after that. And then on the other side with Mark Hamill as the Joker, just absolutely beautiful. He has such a great maniacal cackle and just a way that he is super performative and everything, but can also just do all the ranges. Both of them work unbelievably well together. Obviously, Kevin Conroy has since passed, which is extremely sad. We are all worse off for his loss, but we're all better off for the beautiful performances that he gave us. So really heartwarmingly that Mark Hamill is retiring from playing the Joker, because he said that there is just no point without performing against and alongside Kevin Conroy as Batman. Very sweet. Those two really had a connection and really gave us some of the best Batman media just ever created. And then another piece of this is that it totally, I don't know about revamped, but really repurposed, really, directed the Batman universe and the Batman mythology to a really fantastic place. It reinvented so many different characters. It added so many new characters, right? The big one for the reinvention is Mr. Freeze. He was kind of a stupid, silly, colorful villain from a long time ago. This took it in the famous show Heart of Ice that won some awards and everything, where it added his sad background of his wife being frozen and then him being frozen in an accident because he was trying to save her, but then the bad guys, or the corporation he was working for, tried to cut him off and whatever. And all he does is he's trying to make enough money to get his research done to save his wife. Just a great character reinvention, absolutely fantastic. A lot of other ones have taken from that. And then the big addition was Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn didn't exist before Batman the Animated Series. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of her. She is a very important character. She's a very colorful character. She has a lot of great appearances in all types of different media. She's really blown to crazy proportions nowadays. But Paul Dini really, created him. That is, created her. He molded this character out of clay, and it has just far surpassed this media, but this is all where it started. This is where it came from. And there's so many other different pieces, from reinventing a lot of images of appearances of different characters and dynamics of how people work and everything. It's just, we owe so much to this one piece, this one show, this one piece in time. And again, this show also kicked off the DC animated universe, which has, alongside Batman the Animated Series, given us so much, right? So that's this one, that is Superman the Animated Series, that is Batman Beyond, you throw Static Shock in there, that is also Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So many character reinventions, so many new character additions, so many great stories, so many great adaptations. If you want to talk about anything, the MCU, that is Marvel's big universe or whatever. But at least as of now, the DC live action movies are not DC's universe. The DCAU is where you go. If you want to see the most distilled, best representation of DC comics, DC superheroes, DC stories in entertainment form, you got to go to the DCAU. Animation is a different medium, but it's just unbeatable. You can start chronologically, you probably get the best of it, but start wherever you want, pick up any of them. Just unbelievably great shows that people will be watching forever, that I will be watching forever, and I'm so thankful it exists. Again, it's kind of weird replacing these other ones, putting them on there, but it'll look great on the shelf. This is something that I have to have. I will show my kids this as soon as I can, as soon as they're ready for something like this. Restarting Civilization, that's got to be on this. You have to watch this at some point if you are going to. It's colorful, it's great, it's a great part of history, great part of nerd history. This has been a while coming, and this is probably maybe the one I'm most excited for to put into my collection. We are almost done. The very last addition here to my collection this year that I got over Christmas and everything is just a kind of fun one, but I still wanted to put it on here. It is The Replacements. So this is Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman, as it says there, some other really fun actors that go into this movie. This is from a while ago. This is fairly old, but I'm happy. I'm happy to have it. I did not review it, but I do recall that it was on. No, I'm sorry, I haven't released that yet. I haven't made that video yet. It will be making an appearance on Topics in the near future. So that'll be fun. We have to wait, I guess. I'm sorry. I almost spoiled everything. I don't want to do that. But it will be making an appearance, and it's just really fun. This is just a fun one. I am a huge football fan. You know what? It was definitely on the football. It was definitely on the best football movies of all time Topics episode. So the ranking. So it did make an appearance. It will make an appearance on another episode as well. I'm just gotta collect my thoughts. It's all coming back to me. This is the byproduct of not having a script for one of these episodes here. But it's like a comedy and a movie and a football movie. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I remember it being relatively low on the greatest football movies of all time, but it's still an awful lot of fun. Something that if it's on TV, I will absolutely watch it. Keanu Reeves is a beast. Gene Hackman is a beast. The story of the players sitting out and getting new ones that have the troubled pasts and different like idiosyncrasies and whatever, and making them a team is awesome. They have some great songs in there that I talked about in that other rankings with Heroes, I Will Survive, dances, celebrations, good just schlocky kind of fun, good love story, some decent football action, to be quite honest. Yeah, I do not have too much more to say about that. I think I'm just going to wrap that review up. It's just a good one. I've been eyeing it for a while. There's a few more on there that I didn't get. I'm not being greedy or whatever. I will get them at some point in the future. But they were just movies that I really enjoyed that should have been on here. I was kind of surprised that I didn't get them in some form because I've collected a lot of these from, all right, we'll be done with this, right? And I'm going to kind of maybe finish this out by talking just about the collection specifically and in general. There's a lot of these movies that I've collected over a long time because, movies can be expensive. Others not. I didn't want to spend a bunch. I didn't want to break the bank. So a lot of these are from maybe a few in yard sales, but more like going to, it used to be Movie Stop and everything. Actually, when Movie Stop liquidated, when Movie Stop went under, I got a good chunk of movies, a good chunk of old movies. That was a really great time. I remember it was really bittersweet, obviously, because I couldn't go to Movie Stop anymore and it was going out of business. But to be able to get a bunch of great movies at really low prices and to really bolster this collection was fantastic. But I've gotten them at some other ones. It's like FYE and Best Buy, usually for Best Buy, because Best Buy has a lot of the newer movies and at not great prices. I'll usually wait for Black Friday every year because a lot of them will be something more towards like $5 to $12 rather than more like 15 to 20. So those are a little bit more manageable. At those prices, I can rationalize buying them to myself a little bit better. FYE has a lot of used ones and stuff. I bought a lot of used ones also from Movie Stop. So those usually have pretty low prices, some as low as like $1. I've gotten it from my library and some other libraries where they'll have like little sales where there's like 50 cents to $1 for a movie. Those are great ways of getting it. To be honest, thinking back, I don't really know how this started. I guess it's got to be me and or my sister and I. My family we have flown to places, but most of our vacations have not been flying. A lot of them have been road trips. When we did road trips, my mom had the big minivan. The minivan had the drop down movie player, the movie screen TV where you could plug it in, you could put a disc in, and we would watch that. So we would just watch so many different things. I think that's a big one was X-Men back in the day. And I watched like the Power Rangers and all these different stuff, but I also watched a lot of these movies back there. I've always been a big movie person. And I think it's probably my family's fault. I would think it's gotta be at a young age. For Christmas, they would get movies and stuff for me because everyone has movies, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, even in this, maybe younger people, to be honest, not as much, but at least older people, no matter who they are, they'll have a drawer or a bin or something with some movies. Maybe a lot of them have been old that they haven't touched nor added to in our more digital age. But everyone has some type of movie collection, and I started out with that. I remember I had this because we were always taking it in the car, and it was like a zip up thing where I would take the discs out, and it was like you fit all the discs in rather than having these big bulky disc cases. But I remember at some point I kept all the discs and I put all the discs back in their cases when I started creating my movie collection in its form that it is now. But friends have gotten it for me, and just as things gotten, as I experienced more shows and movies, I got into it. Shows was definitely later. It used to be just a movie collection, but then I started building in more shows. Dragon Ball was maybe one of the first ones, And then like all these ones like Avatar, Friends, down there, like West Wing, where is it? Game of Thrones is right behind me here. Those, a lot of them were around the Black Friday as well, where I could get them like super cheap. But I mean, still not incredibly expensive. You know, it's probably instead of like $50 for the whole thing, it was like $20, $25. So still kind of expensive, but you're getting a lot.